And the first thing you have to understand is this. She's not going to walk up to you and say, "Hey, I like you. I want to spend more time with you." That's not how most women operate when they're genuinely attracted. Instead, what she does is far more subtle and, honestly, far more powerful if you know how to read it. She creates opportunities to be around you without making it obvious that she's doing it for you. It starts in small ways. You'll notice she's suddenly present more often than she needs to be. Maybe it's at work, in a social circle, at the gym, or even online. She finds reasons to cross your path. And on the surface, it all looks casual. It looks like coincidence. But if you really pay attention, the pattern becomes clear. It's not random. She's choosing proximity. And here's where most men get it wrong. They brush it off. They tell themselves, "Oh, she's just friendly," or "That's just timing." But timing doesn't repeat itself like that unless someone is quietly making it happen. A woman who isn't interested doesn't invest her time and energy into being around you more than necessary. She keeps things neutral, distant, efficient. But when she likes you, she leans in just, not in a way that risks rejection. So maybe she asks you questions she could easily figure out on her own. Maybe she lingers in conversations a little longer than needed. Maybe she shows up in spaces where she knows you'll be, even when she has no strong reason to be there. These are not accidents. This is her way of opening the door without having to knock on it. Because here's the deeper truth: attraction for women often comes with vulnerability. And instead of exposing that vulnerability directly, she creates a situation where you can step forward. She gives you access. She gives you presence. She gives you moments. But she wants to see if you're aware enough and confident enough to take those moments and do something with them. And there's a certain elegance to this that most men completely miss. She's not chasing you, she's inviting you, quietly, indirectly, in a way that protects her but still moves things forward. And if you don't recognize it, if you don't respond, she doesn't usually escalate. She pulls back. Not because she lost interest, but because, in her mind, you didn't meet her halfway. You'll also notice that when she's around you, she doesn't rush to leave. Even when the interaction is technically over, she stays just a little longer. There's a pause, a lingering energy, like she's waiting for something but she's not going to spell it out for you. That space, that's your opportunity. And whether you step into it or let it pass tells her everything she needs to know about you. And this is where awareness becomes everything. Because these moments are easy to miss if you're distracted, if you're second-guessing yourself, or if you're expecting something more obvious. But once you train yourself to see the pattern to recognize when a woman is intentionally placing herself in your orbit, you stop relying on guesswork. You start seeing intention behind behavior. So the next time you notice her showing up again and again, and again, don't just dismiss it. Don't overthink it either. Just understand what's really happening beneath the surface. She's giving you access without asking for attention. She's making space for you without demanding anything. And what you do in that space is what determines whether it goes anywhere at all. Because when a woman is choosing to be around you, that's already her first move. You just have to be bold enough to make yours. And then there's something even more revealing. Something that doesn't rely on where she is, but how she is when she's around you. Because when a woman is genuinely attracted to you, her energy shifts, and it's subtle, but it's powerful if you know what to look for. You'll notice it in the way she carries herself. Around other people, she might be composed, neutral, maybe even a little reserved. But with you, there's a change. Her tone softens just a bit. Her expressions become more animated. There's a warmth that wasn't there before, or at least not in the same way. And it's not something she's consciously putting on. It's something that naturally happens when she feels drawn to you. Sometimes it shows up as playfulness. She teases you, laughs a little more than necessary, or finds small ways to keep the interaction alive. And no, it's not about your jokes suddenly becoming funnier. It's about her wanting to stay engaged with you. That extra laughter, that sparkle in her eyes, that slight lean toward you when you're speaking, it's all part of the same pattern. She's not just present, she's invested. Other times, the shift looks like nervous energy. And this is where a lot of men get confused. They assume that if she's a little fidgety, or if she breaks eye contact, or plays with her hair, it means she's uncomfortable or uninterested. But in many cases, It's opposite. Attraction creates awareness. It makes her more conscious of herself, how she looks, how she sounds, how she's coming across to you. And that heightened awareness can come out as subtle nervousness. You might notice she adjusts her clothes slightly, fixes her hair, or becomes more attentive to small details when you're around. That's not random. That's her subconsciously wanting to present her best self to you without making it obvious. Because again, she's not trying to announce her attraction, she's trying to manage it. There's also something else that happens. She starts mirroring you, not in a way that feels forced, but in a way that feels natural. If you're relaxed, she becomes more relaxed. If you're playful, she leans into that energy. If you slow down your tone, she matches it. This kind of mirroring is one of the clearest signs of subconscious connection. It means she's tuned into you, paying attention to you on a level that goes beyond surface interaction. And here's the key: this shift doesn't happen with everyone. A woman can be kind, friendly, and polite with many people. But that specific change in energy, that combination of warmth, attentiveness, slight nervousness, and playfulness, that's selective. That's reserved for someone who's triggered something deeper in her. The mistake most men make is they either ignore it or they misinterpret it. They either assume she's just like that with everyone, or they get thrown off because it's not direct enough. But attraction isn't always loud. In fact, most of the time, it's quiet. It lives in the small details, the micro expressions, the shifts that happen when she doesn't even realize she's revealing them. And when you start to notice these patterns, something changes in you too. You stop chasing obvious validation and you start reading subtle signals. You become more present, more aware, more in tune with what's actually happening in the interaction. And that alone sets you apart. Because now, instead of questioning yourself, you're observing her. You're picking up on the way her energy aligns with yours, the way her behavior shifts specifically in your presence. And that gives you clarity, not because she said anything directly, but because her actions are speaking for her. So when you feel that shift, when you notice that she's just a little different with you than she is with everyone else, don't ignore it. That's not randomness. That's not coincidence. That's attraction finding its way to the surface, even when she's trying to keep it contained. And once you can see that, you stop guessing and start understanding. And then there's this part that confuses a lot of men because it doesn't feel like attraction at first. In fact, if you don't understand it, you might even think she's being difficult or uninterested or just playing games. But what's really happening is something much more intentional. She's testing you, just in small, almost invisible ways. Now, when I say testing, don't think of it as some kind of manipulation or strategy to trip you up. It's not about making you fail. It's about her trying to understand who you are beneath the surface. Because attraction for her isn't just about how you look or how you talk, it's about how you handle things. How do you respond? How grounded you are when things aren't perfectly smooth. So what does this actually look like? It's subtle. She might tease you a little, throw a playful jab your way, or challenge something you say, not aggressively, but just enough to see how you react. Maybe she disagrees with you on something minor. Maybe she makes a slightly sarcastic comment. Maybe she doesn't immediately validate you the way you expect. And in that moment, she's watching. She's not just listening to your words, she's observing your emotional response. Do you get defensive? Do you shut down? Do you try too hard to win her approval? Or do you stay calm, maybe even playful, and hold your ground without turning it into something heavy? Because here's what she's really trying to figure out. Are you stable? Are you confident in yourself? Or do you need constant validation to feel secure? Can you handle a little tension without losing your composure? And this matters more than most men realize, because attraction grows in that space where she feels both intrigued and safe at the same time. If you crumble under small pressure, it signals instability. If you become overly aggressive or defensive, it creates discomfort. But if you stay relaxed, grounded, maybe even amused by the interaction, that's where attraction deepens. You might also notice that sometimes she pulls back slightly, takes a bit longer to reply, becomes a little less available, or doesn't immediately match your level of interest. And again, this isn't random. She's seeing if your behavior changes. If you suddenly start chasing harder, over texting, or seeking reassurance, that tells her something. But if you remain steady, respectful of her space, and continue showing interest without overcompensating, that tells her something else entirely. And here's the part most men miss. If she wasn't interested, she wouldn't bother testing you at all. There would be no teasing, no playful challenges, no subtle push and pull. It would just be neutral, flat, and disengaged. Tests only happen when there's enough interest for her to want to explore the connection further, but also enough uncertainty that she needs to understand you better. It's like she's asking, without saying it, "Can I trust how this feels? Is he actually as confident and grounded as he seems?" And your response is what answers that question. So instead of overanalyzing or taking it personally, you start to see it for what it is: an opportunity. A moment where she's inviting you quietly to show her who you are. Not through big words or grand gestures, but through your presence, your reactions, your ability to stay centered. And when you shift your perspective like that, everything changes. You stop feeling like you're being judged, and you start realizing you're being understood. You stop trying to say the perfect thing, and you start focusing on being real, being steady, being unshaken by small fluctuations in the interaction. Because at the end of the day, these little tests aren't barriers, they're bridges. They're her way of moving closer without fully exposing herself. And if you can meet her there without losing yourself in the process, that's when the connection starts to feel effortless. Because the moment you handle her tests with calm confidence is the moment she stops questioning and starts leaning in. And then there's one of the clearest signals of all, but also one of the easiest to overlook if you're not fully present. Because it doesn't come with words, and it doesn't come with a big, obvious moment. It comes in something small, almost fleeting, but incredibly intentional. She finds reasons to touch you. Now this isn't dramatic or over the top. She's not going to make it obvious in a way that puts her on the line. Instead, it shows up in brief, natural moments. A light touch on your arm when she's laughing, a playful nudge when she's teasing you, her hand brushing against yours as you walk side by side. On the surface, each of these moments can be dismissed as nothing. But when you start to notice the pattern, it tells a completely different story, because physical touch is a boundary, and women don't casually cross that boundary with men they feel neutral about. If there's no attraction, she keeps space clear, consistent, intentional space. But when she's drawn to you, that space starts to shrink. Not all at once, but gradually, carefully, in a way that allows her to feel the connection without fully exposing herself to rejection. And that's what these touches really are. They're tests of comfort and chemistry. She's asking, without saying it, "How does this feel between us?" Not just emotionally, but physically. Is there tension? Is there ease? Do you respond naturally? Or do you freeze up and make it awkward? Because your reaction matters just as much as the touch itself. If you pull away too quickly or act stiff and uncomfortable, it creates distance. If you overreact, turn it into something bigger than it is, it breaks the subtlety of the moment. But if you stay relaxed, if you receive it naturally, and continue the interaction without making it heavy, that's when something shifts. That's when she feels safe enough to keep moving forward. And here's where it gets interesting. These touches often come disguised as something else: playfulness, friendliness, even coincidence. She might adjust something on your shirt, brush off an imaginary speck, or lightly guide you in a certain direction. Each of these gives her a reason to initiate contact without having to admit why she's doing it. It's controlled, it's measured, but it's not random. And when it happens more than once, that's when you really need to pay attention. Because repetition reveals intention. One touch could be accidental. 2 or 3, now you're looking at a pattern. Now you're seeing a woman who is slowly, carefully building a physical connection with you. You'll also notice that as this builds, her comfort level increases. The touches might become slightly more frequent, a little less accidental, a bit more natural within the flow of your interaction. And that's a sign that she's feeling safe, that she's enjoying the connection, that she's opening up just in her own way, at her own pace. But here's the part that most men either rush or completely miss. You don't need to force anything in return. You don't need to suddenly escalate or prove something. What matters is that you're aware, that you're grounded, that you're responding in a way that matches the moment instead of overpowering it. Because attraction grows best in that space where things feel natural, not forced. So instead of overthinking it, instead of questioning whether it means something, start trusting what you're seeing. Look at the pattern, feel the energy. Notice how the interaction evolves when those small moments of contact happen. Because they're not just random gestures, they're signals. Quiet, controlled, but very real. And when you understand that, you stop missing the moment and start meeting her exactly where she is. Because when she's finding reasons to touch you, she's already closing the distance. You just have to be present enough not to pull away.